Your role as a parent goes beyond providing comfort or words of encouragement behind closed doors. Telling your child to not pay attention, to ignore the teasing or rejection, is not enough. The damage is already done, and the suffering they experience daily at school or on the street doesn't disappear with a simple phrase. Your child needs you to be their protector, their shield. It's not enough to ignore those who attack them. It is your responsibility to take concrete actions to defend them. If they are a victim of bullying, it's not enough to tell them to ignore it. You must talk to the school, to the teachers, to the administration. You must demand that their safety be a priority and that real measures are taken. Inaction is a form of complicity. The only way to ensure that your child grows up healthy, safe, and with their self-esteem intact is by showing them that you'll be there to defend them, not just with words, but with actions. Unlike what some social discourses want people to believe, gender-affirming therapies are not an ideology, but a validated medical and psychological practice backed by major global health organizations. The American Psychological Association, the American Medical Association, and the World Professional Association for Transgender Health, among many others, recognize the effectiveness and necessity of this type of care. They are based on decades of research and clinical evidence that show that gender-affirming care, when provided comprehensively and in a timely manner, significantly improves mental well-being, reduces dysphoria, depression, and anxiety, and decreases the risk of harm in trans and non-binary children and adolescents. This is not a whim or a belief, but a science-based response to a deep human need. Medicine cannot ignore pain, and the scientific evidence is clear. Supporting children in their gender identity saves lives. Before delving into the urgency of this message, it is vital to understand a fundamental concept: gender identity. It is often confused with an ideology, a belief, or even a fad, but gender identity is, in its essence, a deep and undeniable reality. It is not something that is chosen, nor an idea that is adopted. It is the intrinsic and personal sense of being a man, a woman, both or neither. It is a fundamental part of each person's identity, as real as their height, their eye color, or their fingerprints. Denying someone's gender identity is like denying their very existence. And when this identity does not align with the biological sex assigned at birth, the suffering is real and is called gender dysphoria. Complicit silence is the most brutal echo of suffering. Today, this call rises above the cry of those who have been forced to live in the shadows. We are talking about our children, their silenced voices, their pain that extends into years of anguish. This is not an academic debate, it is not a political discussion. It is the life of a real person fighting for the fundamental right to be. We have been sold the idea that prudence is an act of love. We have been whispered that caution protects. But the truth is that every day of delay is a slow and calculated torture. Puberty, that stage that nature designed to flourish, becomes a sentence for our children. A mirror becomes an enemy, a body a prison, and their own identity an inexhaustible source of shame and pain. We are not talking about a simple discomfort. We are talking about a profound suffering that leaves scars that time rarely erases. Those who justify waiting do so with empty words, as if trauma does not mature long before age. As if the tears, rejection, isolation, and teasing do not leave permanent wounds. They call it protection, but it is the same indifference that allows a child with a fracture to be forced to wait a decade for a cast. By then, the bone will have set improperly, the pain will have become chronic, and mobility will be a distant memory. That is what they are doing with the lives of our children. This is not an experiment. The real experiment is letting them suffer without intervention. It is a carefully designed plan for pain to serve as an example, so that others look and say, "I'd better keep quiet. I'd better hide." It is an act of bureaucratic cruelty, disguised as parental love and wisdom. It is trauma by design. And the only way to stop it is with an act of courage, an act of unconditional love. To the parents who doubt, who fear the judgment of society, who feel they have lost control, listen to your children. Set aside fear, shame, and that cowardice disguised as love. They are asking you for help. They are not asking you to understand everything immediately. They are asking you to trust, to protect, to act in time. Your son, your daughter, your teenager has the right to grow up in peace, to a childhood lived with dignity. They have the right to be. Medicine doesn't matter to those who seek to postpone. Evidence doesn't matter to them. They only care about keeping things as they are. And if the price of that immobility is seeing a child emotionally unravel year after year, they pay it without hesitation. Do not be accomplices to that indifference. Afterward is too late. It is the space where trauma is cultivated. It is the most painful proof that inaction is not a lack of information, but an excess of cowardice. Act now. Seek professional help, inform yourselves, and, above all, embrace your children as they are. Because protecting does not mean denying. Protecting is acting in time. It is being brave in a world that rewards prudence disguised as cruelty. The lives of your children are in your hands. There is no time to lose.